on today's podcast, we're talking about understanding our strengths, what it is that we do uniquely well, and how can we use our strengths to improve our performance and our collaborations with others. Leaders and teams who understand strengths have a much higher chance of hitting target metrics and keeping an engaged team along the way.
Welcome back to The Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world.
Hey everybody, it's Jason and welcome back to the Thermostat Podcast. Wherever you are and however you're coming to the podcast today, welcome back. So glad you are here. We are in Season 7, well over 160, probably pushing 160 episodes by now. So thanks to everybody who has been listening, any of the OGs that have been with us from the very beginning. So glad you're back. So glad this continues to be a place that adds value to your life, your work. If you are new to the podcast, welcome. So glad you're here. Hope you'll go back, listen to old episodes, great micro pods about different topics that hopefully add value to your life and your work. Also conversations, that I've had with thought leaders from around the world. Great conversations about all kinds of topics that I think will add value and be interesting to you wherever you are in your journey. My commitment to you on this podcast is to be a place in your day, in your week, in your month, a place for you to kind of step back, to have a chance to just think, to listen, to be filled with hopefully some messages that add value to your own life, your work, the way you're thinking about leading and or the cultures that you're trying to create with the people around you. So thanks to everybody for tuning in today. And before we go any further, if I can ask a favor of you, just before we start, I have to do this, at least everybody tells me I got to do this, is that you have to invite everybody, please, to rate this podcast 5 stars. If you'll stop for a second and just do that, that really is a helpful way. That's the way the algorithms work, is to help find, so if you rate it, then people are more likely to find it. So if you'll do that, if you'll leave a positive review in your own words, your authentic words, that's always really helpful too, to help people find it. And obviously sharing it on your social media platforms or however you share things with the people in your team or your organization about, hey, this is a topic that resonated with me, and I hope give it a listen, and then let's talk about it afterwards. Those are the ways in which these messages share and are amplified to people around. So thanks for everybody out there that's doing that. Truly, truly appreciate that. That's the goal, to get these messages to be shared. It's all free, so share as many good messages as we can out there into the world. All right, so we as humans are very good about knowing our weaknesses. If you're giggling right now or you're thinking about yourself, we're really good about knowing the things we don't do well, the things that don't come natural to us, the things that are our own weaknesses individually, or certainly it's easy across teams and organizations to point out what's not working or what's not, our best or where our weaknesses might lie. What we don't do well oftentimes and are scared of doing in many cases, or things that go, these are the things that they don't come as natural to us. And so, in fact, especially in the United States, we're quite good within teams and organizations about looking for these areas where we are not performing well, and we can become focused in on how to fix our weaknesses. Which again, there is there's a good reason for that, and there's good efforts to be made to say, what do we not do well, and let's continue to dial up and increase our performance and find the areas, the gaps of where things aren't working, and to help to mitigate those weaknesses that we have. And so we often fixate on what isn't working. And again, hear me clearly that there's a time and a place for this. But in our focus on these weaknesses, we often don't take the time to fully understand our unique strengths. and how we are uniquely positioned to succeed. Again, in this fixation on weaknesses and what's not working and where are our opportunities or our gaps, oftentimes what we gloss over or race past in many cases is that we don't take the time to fully understand our unique strengths and how we are uniquely positioned to succeed. We do this as individuals, not understanding our own individual strengths and contributions and gifts that we have uniquely to share, but we also do that as entire teams and organizations. Sometimes we don't even fully know what we do best and how we are uniquely positioned to succeed. We're great about identifying our weaknesses, but we're not always great about understanding our strengths. So, on today's podcast, we're talking about understanding our strengths, what it is that we do uniquely well, and how can we use our strengths to improve our performance and our collaborations with others. Leaders and teams who understand strengths have a much higher chance of hitting target metrics and keeping an engaged team along the way. But before we dive into today's topic, let's pause. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
If you haven't done so already, we hope you'll visit Amazon or Amplify or jasonvbarger.com to check out Breathing Oxygen, my new book that is all about breathing good oxygen into ourselves and mindsets that fuel ourselves and the teams and the organizations around us. Positive, healthy thinking is as essential to great leadership and building a winning culture as the air we breathe. Leading yourself and a team of people has never been more complicated than it is today. As a leader, every move you make is either breathing life into your organization or slowly killing it. The atmosphere can easily turn toxic with negativity, blame, and doubt poisoning the culture. Just like every being on the planet needs good air to breathe, every organization needs leadership that breathes life into its people to sustain the energy required to complete its mission. Breathing Oxygen focuses on 6 key leadership mindsets that breathe life into any team: clarity, inclusivity, mental agility, grit, rest, and ownership. Join us, read, and share Breathing Oxygen.
Available now from Amplify Books on Amazon and jasonvbarger.com.
If you listen to this podcast, then you know how important I believe the development of our emotional intelligence is to developing as leaders and cultures. If you listen back or take a look back at past episodes or just Google Jason Barger emotional intelligence, you're gonna see a number of podcast episodes that you can dive deeper into these specific episodes that I recorded on emotional intelligence. But and there's great resources out there of great practice tips and things out there of the way that we're defining it so that you better understand this terminology that so many people throw around out there. And if you read any business article or any article in the world today with all the challenges and things that we've had, the changes in the world that we've had to be navigating over the last few years, everybody cites this need for leaders, and certainly within cultures, to raise our level of emotional intelligence. So for today's conversation, I just want to make sure we define it, quickly. And then again, if you want further, deeper dialogue about it, check out some of those past episodes. But emotional intelligence, you may remember, is defined as your ability to recognize and understand the emotions in yourself and others. So not just yourself, but yourself and others. And then your ability to use this awareness to manage your behavior in your relationships. So again, let me break that down. It's your ability or inability, if you have a low level of emotional intelligence, your ability to recognize and understand yourself, your own emotions, your own feelings. What do I know about myself? And what do I perceive to know about others? What they might be feeling, seeing, thinking. And then your ability and then it's not just about recognizing and understanding it. It's about then your ability to use that awareness to develop manage your behavior, develop the relationship. So you can see that there's 2 different sides of emotional intelligence. There's the personal competency side the personal self-awareness around what I see, what I'm feeling, what I know about myself, and then the self-management side of, based on what I know, what I see, what I feel, what is it I actually go do? That's the personal competency side of it. Then there's the social competency. So your own social competency is your social awareness around what it is that you see, what you know about the people around you, what you feel they might be experiencing. And based on that, what is it that you do? What is the behavior, the action that you put into place to develop that relationship? Studies will tell us that 58%, I don't know how they come up with 58%, but that's the stat that they throw out there, is that 58% of all our performance is tied to emotional intelligence, which tells us that, again, a lot of the projects or interactions, meetings, any of the tasks that we perform each day, of course, there's a level of our IQ that we bring to it, our intelligence and our expertise and our the personality that we bring to it, how we approach it. But they say 58% of it is our, again, ability or inability to understand ourselves and manage ourselves and understand socially the social competency of others and managing that relationship. So it all comes down to our ability or inability to have awareness, to have listening, and then to have a response that moves things forward. So emotional intelligence is, do we know ourselves, and can we leverage the very best of ourselves in collaboration with the very best of others? This is at the heart of every great team, right? So StrengthsFinder, which, again, was established with this very philosophy in mind that came from the Gallup organization and many, 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 many years of research that they did around identifying key indicators around individual strengths. And really is all about the fact that seeing it is that they recognized so much energy was being put into individually and collectively the things we don't do well, and so much focus on our weaknesses that they really wanted to help us not just jump to those things, but first start with, do we even understand the things that we naturally do well? So I'm a big fan of this Gallup tool of StrengthsFinder because I believe that this test, there are many great assessment tests and personality tests and all of that no test can tell you everything about you as a human being, but some do a really great job, and Strengths, I believe, does, of being able to see how are you uniquely positioned with your strengths, and what is your natural kind of orientation of the way that you show up, the way that you think and approach most situations, how you come to the table. And so this test, in my opinion, different than some of the others, is in a quick amount of time, it gives people the ability to understand their own strengths, as well as beginning to see the differences that they see in other people on their team, that they start to be able to see that it's not just about them being different, but it might actually just be the strengths, the other person's strengths are disguised. And so just instead of saying that person's different, that person's weird, that person's, wrong, to now take a posture of, what does this mean? How could I understand that person's strengths better? Because it may just be they think about it or come to the situation differently than I do. So just because someone doesn't see a situation the way you do or comes to it from a different angle of vision doesn't mean they are wrong or weird. In this context, it actually means they might just be coming at it from leveraging different strengths than you do. So when I administer this test with leaders and teams and work with them to facilitate dialogue and help them understand all this, I'm always thrilled by the dialogue and the development we enter into to help them better understand their own emotional intelligence, again, their self-awareness around strengths, and also their social awareness of the strengths of the other people around them. When a team member comes to the understanding that one of their teammates, just as an example, has the strength of deliberation or being analytical, all of a sudden they begin to better understand that person that, I just thought they were quiet. I thought they were off-putting. I thought they were aloof. I thought they were, they just, they're quiet so they don't say as much. And they then begin to better understand a strategy to improve their collaborations with that person. So rather than, so a strategy they start to understand as they start to see, actually this person that they've always thought of as quiet, actually that person is just deliberating. They're being analytical, and part of their strength is to step back and actually to look at all the root reasons and causes a situation might be existing, and then to analyze and deliberate, take serious care of the decisions they're making in order to deliberate and make a decision. So as we better understand that about our teammates or colleagues, all of a sudden then, rather than spring things on them at the last minute, which or ask for their input in real time during a meeting, we start to recognize that not only is that not helpful for this kind of thinker, but they begin to recognize giving the person time and space to deliberate and analyze actually helps the person leverage their own strengths that they have and allows the person to use their strengths and come back with a better solution or contribution to the project or the problem that we're trying to solve. So giving them, a strategy of saying, okay, instead of springing something on somebody that's deliberative or analytical, all of a sudden now I'm going to give the agenda to them ahead of time so they have time to think, or I'm going to give them some questions to ponder or a timeline to deliberate before we're going to reconvene. This strategy allows for not just how somebody might think differently, but begins to bring the thinking that if I understand their strengths, then our collaborations, I want to set us up for the most optimal success that we can have. And so this will, by giving them time and space to leverage the strengths that they have that are different than the ones I have or you have, allows for a better result. And ultimately, the better result, the better conclusion, the better decision about where we're going to head is obviously the point. So that's one example, and this example and this kind of awareness helps all people, but especially in collaborations with someone. I'll go back to that same example. Somebody that's deliberative and analytical. That's that example rings true no matter what your other strengths are. But now let me layer it on. If somebody, again, if you've taken the Strengths Finder assessment, then somebody that tests out as a top 5 as an activator, which I happen to be, or an achiever, or competition is another strength, or a maximizer, which I happen to be a maximizer as well. These strengths of these people are typically the ability to take action, to be a catalyst of for results, to take something good. A maximizer is about taking something good and making it even better. And which as I better understood my own strengths, I start to understand, wow, the way that I think and come to the table aligns very well with the role that my career has taken and the role I now play with teams and organizations. That as somebody that has the strengths of belief, of believing in a mission greater than self, of being strategic to see patterns and trends and habits, things that are showing up on the horizon and trying to figure out different ways to proceed, to have the strength of ideation, which is taking ideas and being fascinated by ideas, but then how do we tie them into the last two of my strengths, which are activator, which is a catalyst for taking a thought and bringing it to action, and a maximizer, which is helping something good become even better. That those, as I better understand that natural thinking that I bring to the table, aligns beautifully for my role that I play with teams and organizations of helping to bring out the best in them. And so as we better understand these things about ourselves, we're better able to leverage and realize that not everybody thinks or comes to the table the same way we are. But if I know that about myself, and again, back to that example of somebody that might have the strength of deliberation or analytical in a way that's different than me, then I have the ability to say, hold on, if I'm collaborating with that person, maybe it's smart to slow things down and to make sure, again, I provide time and space so we don't race to the next action. We don't activate too quickly. We want to make sure that we have time to deliberate so that we can get the better solution that allows everyone at the table to leverage their strengths, not just focused on my strengths. So, this tool and then using the tool for obviously taking the test is one thing and getting the readout is a really important step. But using kind of effective facilitation around helping us, don't just take the test and read the results, but really dive into it and better understand what does this tell us about ourselves. And how do we understand then not only the way that you are uniquely positioned, but then workshopping that around the strengths of the people around you and better understanding their strengths. Again, practicing the both sides of that emotional intelligence of your personal competency and your social competency. This continues to be such a highly valuable tool for developing leaders, teams, and cultures, to helping them align around not just what they do, but how they are committed to showing up with each other to pursue their mission. So, some questions to ponder for today. Do you even know your own strengths and those of your teammates? Do you know the ways that you are your own strengths and those of your teammates and how you're uniquely positioned to be successful, the way you're oriented to think? Do you know that about yourself and your teammates? Can you articulate a strategy for how to better leverage the strengths of team members to strengthen those collaborations? And how would you advise others? If you had to advise other people to best collaborate with you, how would you articulate that? Do you know yourself well enough to say, in order to set us up for success for how we collaborate together, here are some tips that I would advise you to improve our collaborations? And then are you willing to listen to what somebody else might say, tips to collaborate with them so that we better understand each other? So I hope today's episode got you thinking in many new ways. Again, if a deeper dive into any of these topics is interesting to you, please reach out to us. info@jasonvbarger.com, info@jasonvbarger.com, and let us know. We're going to continue to design content to help meet you where you are and the things that we hear our people are looking for and thirsty for. So lastly, I hope you'll go back. I hope you'll listen to past episodes. So many great things out there that I think will add value to you. I hope you'll check them out and share them with other people. Cheers to everybody in the road ahead. And remember that the future of leadership is you. It's me. It's us. And we need to get clear on the temperature we hope to set and the cultures that we hope to create, and then be committed to breathing good oxygen into the mindsets and actions that will sustain our path forward. Step back, remember, be a thermostat, breathe good oxygen. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.